Well, we practice Sabbath some. I wrote my dissertation on Sabbath, so I kind of joke about the fact that for several years I worked on the Sabbath, and then I wrote the book on it. But part of what we learned from that is Sabbath is a rhythm of life, and particularly as a pastor's couple. I'm a pastor, and she's, of course, a pastor's spouse. Sunday is a day of worship for us, and worship is a huge component of Sabbath, but it also is a work day for me. And we have, but in my dissertation work, I discovered that Sabbath, trying to model out what Jesus did, Sabbath is a time for community and particularly family. And so we have really done lots of recreation together. And I love that word recreation as Sabbath because the word actually is recreation. And so when people ask me, well, what can I do or can't I do on the Sabbath? What brings you to life? What recreates you? And so for a number of years, I rode a mountain bike and she rode a horse, and then she got me over to the dark side, and now we both ride horses. And we do that almost every week on not Sunday, but on other days, usually a Friday or Saturday, you're going to find us out recreating, oftentimes on horseback or in some kind of a horse activity. I think it's kind of funny that the 10 Commandments are all these things where God is saying you can't go after your base desires, you can't steal, you can't commit adultery, you can't covet, and then God says, and you've got to rest. And that's so hard sometimes to stop. And then the flip challenge for me is Jesus was very clear. He would work on the Sabbath if it meant helping another human being, particularly one in great distress. And so I cannot use my day off, particularly my Sabbath day, as a day to say, well, I'm sorry, I'm not going to care for you. Not only because I'm a pastor, but just because I'm a Christian. And so some Sabbaths I need to decide, is this a day that I need to pick up the phone, or I need to go make a visit, or I need to do something that wasn't on the agenda, certainly isn't rest, but is what I'm being called to do, and recognize that too can be a Sabbath practice. But there's a challenge there too, because I could then let a bunch of things that maybe weren't really as important fill up that time. Well, I'll just do this, I'll just do this, I'll just do this, and there's no rest in it. So I think that's the two challenges for me.